blastmusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time.
Hello and welcome. This is According to Courtney. I'm Courtney West. I'm a full spectrum doula. And I've been doing this work for multiple years. I love According to Courtney, where we talk about all different topics from, Black maternal health to mental health, filling your cup, sex, and anything in between. So lately I've been really on this journey of really talking about self-care. And one of the things about self-care is that is mental health. And there's a lot of stigma around doing mental health, especially in the Black community and especially around Black maternal health. So today I am super, super excited to have an amazing clinician in who will be sitting here and talking and going over mental health with us today. So let's bring them into the space.
Hello.
Hi. I'm super excited to have you. And so this is my girl, Alice. Alice, welcome to According to Courtney. Every time I have a guest, I always like to start off with 3 main questions to open you into the space. First, what is your name and the origin of your name? 2, where are you from and where are your people from? And 3, what would you like to bring into the space today?
Of course, my name is Alice Powell. The origin of my name is I got my name from my grandmother. And so when people think Alice, they think that I'm old and white, but I'm not.
Where are you from?
Where my people's from. Okay, so originally I am from New Orleans, Louisiana. That is my home base for my parents. But I have traveled in the South a lot. So I've done some Florida, some Louisiana, some Georgia, some Alabama. And so my upbringing is a foster youth of the South. So depending on where I was where I was, and I probably wasn't there too long after a while.
Yeah. And then Alice, what information you want to leave in the space with people? What is the one piece of thing that you would want them to walk away from having this conversation with you?
What I would like to leave people with is mental health should be looked at as regular health as a whole. You see your doctor at least once a year. You see your gynecologist at least once a year. You see your eye doctor maybe twice and your dentist maybe twice. Put your clinicians and mental health in that rotation. That way you don't have those awkward, odd feelings of looking for someone, always looking for someone. And then you have regular checkups so you can see if things are progressively getting worse, progressively getting better, and if you're handling things as they're coming. So always seek mental health every year at least once.
Oh, I love that. I think that is something that I've never thought about it like that. It's like at least once a year, go in for a checkup. And see how you're doing. So Alice, let's get into it. I want to know your credentials, your intro. Tell me about, therapist Alice.
Okay, so all in all, I'm a clinician because of life experiences. I didn't always know I wanted to be a clinician. I kind of started down the road of social services because of my background being a foster youth of Central Florida. And so it started with private investigations and then getting into social work. And then I realized that people would walk up to me and share all of their information with me, not knowing me. Mm-hmm. And so someone said, well, you're a really good therapist. And I looked into that and I realized I could put together the things that I know socially and how to come with resources and the things that people need to decrease harm. along with matching it with credentials and education, and put it together to formulate a system for mental health services. And so I started on that journey. I've been active and I have about 15 years of experience dealing with mental health on all levels, whether it be inpatient, that means you're in a hospital, outpatient, that means you go home every day or you do something similar to this, like telehealth. Okay. For your homeless, I've dealt with that population, children, prenatal, postnatal, and that's just for my pregnant maternity women. And I've done some jail, judicial, and so I have vast knowledge in various spaces. I'm also the owner of a Guiding Hand Therapeutic Services. You can see my information scrolling across the bottom if you want to check out my website. And we do offer court-ordered services. So if you go to jail and they tell you, hey, you have to go and do these things. If you want to get a divorce and they say, hey, you have to go and do these things, we offer a good majority of those as well.
I love that. You have such a vast wealth of knowledge when it comes to mental health. And one of the things I want to ask you about is like, where do you see the importance of mental health? Because you just went over so many different things in there. The importance of mental health in those different facets of between maternal, working in the jail and everything else. Because that's such a, everybody can't do that.
No.
Everybody cannot do that.
Listen, you have to work that out and get in sync with that before you jump into that.
I bet.
But the importance of mental health is, all in all, it is you being okay with you. So what I tell people is look at your quality of life. Okay. When I say quality of life, it's I am where I want to be. I am doing what I want to do. And I feel good about where I am in life. Right. Look at it like you would do school. Put it on a grading scale. Right. If you say my quality of life is at a 60%, a 60% is a D.
Yeah.
That should let you know I am damn near failing and I need to see someone. If you say it's a C or a 75, you're at about an average, right? And it's like, if something happens to me in life, then I am going to not be able to pass anymore.
Correct.
You know, so I am on a thin line. Nobody is really functioning at 100. If they do, they're bullshitting you. Do not listen to them. If someone tells you, oh yeah, my quality of life is 100, you are full of shit and you are either not paying attention or you're avoiding or you're not handling the things that are coming towards you. So the importance of mental health is just having a good quality of life. And that changes for everyone, but quality of life is what you take it in as. And that can go across the board very easy. You don't have to try to break it down, right? So I recommend that people kind of sit in the high C's, lower A's. If you can
like
kind of stay in that window,
okay,
fine.
Because I was not a straight A student, so I was about to ask her, she said D's and C's and shit. I was like a C plus /A minus type of bitch. So I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? But I feel like that's really helpful. Why do you think? And I've seen it a lot in our communities. People are afraid of getting mental health care because they're always the same thing. I don't want to be seen like I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. Well, how do you know if you're crazy or not? And why do we take it away from crazy? But are you well?
Right.
It's just, are you well? But every single time it's this fear of, hey, have you thought about seeing a therapist? It's like I might as well punch you in the face and then called you all out your name by saying it's okay to get help.
Yeah.
Do you see this a lot in your practice? And then why do you think that why is that so much in the Black community?
Yeah. So of course, mental health comes with a stigma. People feel like if you go and you see a therapist or you have a mental health diagnosis or you're dealing in certain spaces, then something is desperately wrong with you. That is grossly inaccurate because they don't know what the different levels are, what the different things are. So when people say, oh, I'm crazy, what's crazy? Most people are thinking crazy. They're thinking schizophrenia.
Yes.
Who the fuck is, do you know that everybody is not schizophrenic? They're thinking you're going to be walking down the street with no shoes on. And so I ask people, do you walk down the street with no shoes on, talking to yourself, fighting the fucking air? They're like, no, I don't do that. I'm just sad. Well, then being sad is different than I see green people running after me. So now I'm in the middle of the road having a psychotic episode, you know?
Very true.
And so I tell people to say what they are, and that'll help them. If you're saying, I can't deal with conflict at all, okay, so you're people pleasing. You need help to not people please. I lack self-esteem. Let's get into self-esteem. Lacking self-esteem and being crazy or schizophrenic or having a psychotic episode, those do not align. They're so far removed.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so if people start to just separate what is wrong with what they have going on, that'll help them to move forward. The other part is they don't want to tell people their business. It's like, what I'm going to tell you my business, what is it going to do? So I want to make this really clear for people. Having an outward and open conversation with someone. This is why talk therapy is effective. I meet so many people who are isolated. You know, you go home, you tell your friends, you tell your family all your damn business, and now they tired of hearing it. Well, baby, we're not tired of hearing it. It's new to us. Tell us. We want to know. And so we become the soundboard and the outlet versus you telling your mom or your dad or your homegirl, and they're like, you're just stupid. You're just dumb. You need to get over it. They don't know because they're not going through it. And they damn sure ain't got the credentials to help you.
Absolutely.
Okay? Right.
Yes.
Or people want to avoid what is happening to them because they don't want to do heavy lifting. Heavy lifting is when you say, you know what? I was driving my car and I just had these thoughts of driving my car off the bridge. Instead, they're like, I'm not going to worry about that. And it keeps happening to them. Well, we call that passive suicidal ideations. That means you're dangerously close to committing suicide. And we can do something about it now. Because you're thinking about it, rather it's intrusive thoughts. Because that's right. What we're chucking it up as. I'm having intrusive thoughts. That's fine. You can have intrusive thoughts. You can address them. Just don't act like it's not fucking happening. It's happening.
I think I've seen that a lot. People will tell you stuff and they'll try to tell you in a funny way. Girl, I'm surprised I even woke up this morning because I was just staring at them bottles of pills. Ha ha. Be like, wait a minute. And I see this a lot as a doula, that you'll have these moms who they might have before kids in, they're working 2 full-time jobs and going and going and going. And it's like, I just want to lay down and die. Yeah. I said, well, what do you mean by that? Like, I just don't want to wake up anymore. I don't want to be a mom no more. I don't want to do any of these things anymore. But it's okay. That's just what it is. And I'm like, no, it's not okay.
It's not.
It is okay that you're having these feelings and that you're expressing them. That is okay. But it's not okay that you're waking up every single day and this is how you're feeling. Right. And in those spaces, I always say, it's okay to go to a therapist. Nah. I mean, I have you. And I bring this up because a lot of times doulas, we play a lot of different roles and we are here to hear those things. But as a good doula, you have to have resources. And I have been very, very listen. I have called Alice many times. Hey, I got this mama. This is what she's showing me. She's going to call you. And it's about saying what is in your spectrum of care and what is not. My background is a pediatric nurse, so I know what I'm listening to. And I'm like, oh, okay, I hear you. Let me set you up in a safe space. And I've always been very clear about that when it comes to therapy. Not to say, here's just a therapist for you. Hey, I need you to have someone who is a safe space for you to express this stuff to, who's going to is not going to be judgmental, but is going to give you some tools.
Yeah.
This is this clinician's stuff. She is a therapist and she has tools, but I never lead with she's a therapist, because a lot of times I get this feeling about it.
Yeah.
And so it's about, being able to go into that and also knowing that it's good to have a therapist. Keep a therapist in your pocket.
Keep us in your pocket. There is no reason you don't have one of us on speed dial, saving your cell phone, or any of those things. Yeah, absolutely. Keep a clinician on standby, but also rapport is key. And so some clinicians do not fully understand the importance of rapport. right? And so rapport is the relationship and the feel you get when you are dealing with a clinician. Okay. If you call a clinician or a therapist or a psychoanalytic therapist, whatever funny words they want to use, it's all means the same. It just means therapist, guys. And so if you get on the phone with them and they're like, what do you want? How much money you got? What insurance you got? And that's fine to have the formalities. But if you make me feel like I'm a dollar, or if you make me feel like you're not listening to me, or if I don't even have a moment to express to you, this is how I'm feeling. Do you even think that I need you for real, for real? Get off the phone with them. Get rid of them. Get somebody else. Do not waste your time. Do not waste your money, your energy, because it will make you resent therapy because you're trying to make this person fit into who you are personality wise. There is a clinician to meet your personality. Just fill us out a little bit. You can ask your clinician questions. What are your beliefs on medications? What are your beliefs on depression? What are your beliefs on these things? And you can ask that over the phone before you give them any of your damn information.
Yes.
Answer you and not be offended that you're asking.
So
if
it's like
offended, get rid of their ass.
I like it. So it's like you gotta date your clinician before you do it. You gotta do some speed dating.
Give me some coffee.
I love it.
I
think that's really important because I notice like a lot of people like, I don't know how to get started with finding a therapist. How do I know? Because it is scary to be vulnerable and to share yourself. I can use myself as a best soundboard for that. I am horrible at doing, because I know so many therapists. Yeah. And it's that piece of, especially when you do work in the community, things like that, you're terrified to have to share yourself. Yeah. But it is a thing, is like, how do I get started? How do I look for a therapist? I think I've asked you about that. It's like, how am I supposed to find someone when I know the best ones and I can't use none of them because I know these people. I work with these people. I have we work together so intimately. I can't tell you my business because I know you. And it's like, how do you find a good fit? But I like that. Is there some key questions people should think about asking when you're dating your clinician?
Yeah. So the first thing you want to know is just more so their credentials. You want to get those credentials down. So if you look next to my name, it says LCSW, but it also says mental health clinician underneath. I am a licensed clinical social worker. Right? Okay. So being a social worker, that means I do the mental health portion and I do the resources and services portion. So I am fully all around. Okay. Whereas it may say LMFT, that's a licensed marriage and family therapist. Are you having marriage and family problems? Okay. Are you having trauma problems? Okay. So that marriage and family may not be for you unless the issues are within your nuclear family, right? Some of them may say, we don't have this here in Florida, but it may say LPC. That's another type of therapist, but outside of Florida. Okay. And, So, and they're full spectrum, just like a doula. They do it all, And okay. Focus on substance abuse. Some focus on just children. And so you just want to look at their credentials and ask them, what do your credentials mean? Okay. The other thing is you want to know their stance on medication. Yes. Some people only believe in holistic approaches. Some people only believe in medication approaches. And so that's important to know, because if you get a clinician who is very in tune with pharmaceuticals, they are going to push those upon you. So now you're on all of these medications and you're like, why am I on all of these meds? And I don't even take Tylenol when I get a headache. Right. And then I would say the third thing that you want to know is how comfortable are they with you speaking freely to them? Because sometimes if you ask your clinician, hey, if I tell you I want to die, are you going to send me to a facility? Yes. Or are we able to talk through that? What can you help me with? So then I know what I can say, what I can't say. And, are you available to give me other resources? Because if some things are just outside of your scope of practice, like you said, and you don't want no one in that field just dabbling around with you because they don't know what the hell to do. That's a money grab.
Yes.
Don't be someone's money grab.
Yes.
So credentials, medication stances, and their level of experience on the topic that you have.
I feel that's so important. Thank you, because those are such important tools, and I feel like that's like the hardest part with it is you don't know what you're asking for, you don't know what you're looking for, and then if you get one, you find out they can't even handle anything you talking about.
Yeah. Also, Courtney, one thing that I want people to understand, okay? They don't know this, and I don't know why. And this is just Black people as a whole when it comes to mental health, Black women, Black men, Black children. You have a right to ask for a clinician that is like you.
Yes.
Please just accept. If you called your insurance, they send you a long list of people and say, here you go. Call your clinician. If you're looking for a woman who is under 50, who is a Christian, you can say that. Are you Black? Yes. Are you under 50?
Yes.
Are you Christian based? Ask for the things that you need, because you will find yourself being connected to someone who has nothing in common with you. And now you're over explaining, or you're scared to explain at all, and you're holding certain things in. So ask for your belief systems. Ask for your cultural needs. Because I don't want to have to explain that these are micro locks in my head.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so important, because a lot of times I notice with mental health, especially with dealing with Black and brown people, when you are getting mental health, you're getting mental health from Becky Sue. Nothing wrong with Becky Sue, but Becky Sue does not understand the Black experience. Right. I'm telling you, I'm dealing with passive aggressive racism in my workforce, plus blunt aggressive racism in my face when it comes to my pay and everything else, and you're going to explain to me the whiteness of it. It's like, well, maybe it's not that, maybe it's this. Well, you just took away everything I just said. You've given no merit to anything I just said because of where you're at in life. And that's really important, that you can say, well, no, I know me, I'm very specific. I need either a Black or Afro-Latina. I like someone who's young enough to be my mama, but you can't be young enough to be my child. That's not going to work out for me.
That's not going to work out either, yes.
You can't be green with me. I've never been around the world and seen too many things and have been around too many corners. I need someone who'd have been around the block a couple of times so you can actually understand what I'm going through. I like people who had a history in healthcare. Why? Because you can understand, as me being a nurse and being a doula, what I go through and what I see every day. Because if you don't, I feel like you can't help me.
Yeah.
Or I'm doing the therapy with you. I'm not your therapist.
Yes. Be mindful of therapists who overindulge. If you are receiving services and your clinician does not emphasize it is all about you, and they spend large amounts of time expressing to you what they have done with their lives and how they handle things, and a lot of them, that's not going to be effective either for you.
Okay.
That is overindulging, too much self-disclosure. That's not how this works. This is a service. When you go to the dentist, you don't need your dentist explaining to you that he's getting a divorce and his mom is going through this and his sister has cancer. You're not really getting into that. You're just there for your teeth.
Right.
You want that information. You know, how do I take care of my teeth? I don't necessarily need to learn how to take care of your mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because I've seen that a lot, trying to get therapy through the years. It feels like it's not even about me. It's about you telling me how great you are and how I should be more like you.
Yeah.
But your problems are not my problems. So how can I be like something that I don't even understand like that? So one of the things I know that you talked about for Black women and Black men when it comes up to therapy, I want to talk a little bit for our Black men. I've noticed that it's very difficult sometimes to get Black men to go into therapy, period.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Okay, so getting Black men into therapy, and of course, I have some statistics.
Yes.
And so those resources will be available if you want to follow up and look up these things that I'm going to provide you with. That will be listed. However, Black men struggle with getting into therapy for various reasons, but mainly there's no clinicians that look like them.
Yes.
So when we come across Black male therapists or mental health professionals, we call them unicorns.
Yes.
Because this is a female dominated field, and only between 2 and 4% are Black women. So that should tell you you're only getting maybe 1% or less in Black men as a whole as clinicians. So they can't find them, and when they show up, sometimes the field burns them out and just dumps everybody on top.
Yes.
Right? And so if everybody is dumped on top of you, then that includes women, white men, men of different cultures that are not Black and non-Hispanic. Your caseload is going to be filled up immediately. That leaves our little Black boys with nothing. That leaves our Black men with nothing. And now they're sitting on a wait list because they're waiting for a Black man to help them.
Yeah.
Now, it is getting better, just not at a rate that it is super effective. Right?
Correct.
The other thing is Black men become overdiagnosed more often than not. Okay. And they get diagnosed with extreme things. So something that a white male may be diagnosed with after coming back from military war is PTSD.
Correct.
Because they have these different episodes that take place and they're dissociating, right? And they're living. Whereas if you are a Black man coming back, you will not get PTSD. Your primary will be schizophrenia.
Really?
Yeah, they're going to hit you with schizophrenia instead of saying, let's treat you with PTSD and treat you like this. And this is something that we can work on and get better in. They're going to give you schizophrenia, put you on antipsychotics, and label you in that way. And it's extreme. And so nobody wants that. So they keep on going through what they're going through. And also just community, society is, you need to suck it up.
Yes.
And they just suck it up. So let me be the first to say to Black men, please stop sucking it up. Please, please stop sucking it up. Please find someone, even if it's a Black woman. We don't have a whole lot of numbers in place, but that's at least a stepping stone, because a Black woman probably can get you closer to a Black male than anyone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so disheartening to hear that, though, when it comes to our Black men. And it's like society, it's hard enough to be a Black woman, but to be a Black man, especially, we're going to talk about American society as a Black person, but as a Black man, you have everything that's really just stacked up against you. And it's hard when you need some help, and it's okay to need some help. And then even when you go to get the help isn't always helping or isn't available to you the way that it needs to be. And I'm hoping to see that as a change, to see more Black clinicians, for Black male clinicians. I know when I was looking for one for a client, I had to call everybody I knew to find 2 people who were booked full.
Yep.
And they were wonderful men. They were super sweet because it was for a teenage boy.
Yep.
And they're like, I can't take him, but I do have this. What the nice thing is, one guy had a boys group, and so he was able to take him into a boys group. He said, but I can't do him one-on-one therapy right now because I don't have any openings from a year from now. I'm like, a year? You're booked out a year? He's like, that's what it is. And that's with insurance, no insurance. And one of them didn't take insurance, period. He's like, I'm all cash pay.
Yeah.
And so it just cut it right there because that family couldn't do that. So I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that'll do it. Those wait lists are truly that long. That's why we call them unicorns.
Yeah.
When you see one, you try to get as close to it as possible.
Yeah. So if you're looking for therapy, and is it pretty common that there's a lot of wait lists for trying to get mental therapy? And if so, should you be trying to look for different people, or how is that the best way to kind of go through that? Because a lot of times people are in crisis and they can't wait a month, 2-3 months to talk to somebody.
Wait lists are very common. Wait lists are common mainly when you have good quality clinicians. So you want to look at those people who do have wait lists.
Okay.
Right. And see what they're able to do. But also, as things are going, keep in mind, people are getting licensed every day. Those clinicians who have wait lists. So people like me, right? When I have a wait list, I am also bringing up anywhere between 2 and 5 clinicians behind me. That means they're going to function very similar to how I function. And so I can kind of start to get you transitioned over to them, or I can give you information to get you what you need. But wait lists are very common, anywhere from 3 months to 1 year.
Okay.
If you cannot wait, I always tell people to utilize their employer. Okay. There's something called employee assistance programs. People don't know that they have it. And what that does is, if you work at Publix, Amazon, any corporation, they have it. You can call them on the phone. You get the phone number from your human resources, and they pay for anywhere from 3 to 12 sessions up front for you.
Oh, wow.
To prevent you from going into crisis, because your employer knows if you're in crisis, guess what? You're not coming to work. You're doing bad quality work. You don't give a damn, and they may lose an employee, and it's going to cost them more to hire someone else than it is to get you these services immediately.
Ooh. Listen, you just dropped a gem in a whole bunch of people's buckets, honey.
Go to your employer. We want their money. We don't want your money. They got plenty of money.
I love that. Oh, that's perfect. So at this point, we're gonna hit that midpoint right there, because we're gonna hit some music, everything else. But before we hit that, go to your employer and make them pay for your stuff.
Yes.
Indeed. Great topic, ladies. So today we got one of the blast artists. This is my man Hakeem Romance. The song is called I Heard. So let's check it out.
For me, asking all sorts of questions, second guessing. Well, you done found me, babe. What's it gonna be? You summoned me. Come over here, get you what you need. You been talking that shit all day. I'ma let you have your way. Show me what you're about, baby. Shouldn't be much more to say. So here we are. We got time alone, baby, come on. I need to see what you're talking about. Make me believe what it's all about. Inspire me walking in the house, baby, show me. I need to see what you're talking about. Make me believe what it's all about. Inspire me walking in the house, baby, show me. Vicky secrets and Fenty, many options to pick from. Sensing your sweet aura, is that Dior? I can't choose, I choose you. You know I love all of them. But what's the point of it all? I'ma rip them off anyway. You been talking that shit all day. I'ma let you have your way. Show me what you're about, baby. Shouldn't be much more to say. So here we are, we got time alone, baby, come on. I need to see what you're talking about. Make me believe what it's all about. Inspire me walking in the house, baby, show me. I need to see what you're talking about. Make me believe what it's all about. Inspire me walking in the house. Baby, show me, yeah.
And that was Hakeem Romance with I Heard. And if you are an independent artist or a spoken word poet or up and coming comedian looking for some exposure, you can go to blastmusic247.com and register for free. But Blast is also looking for the fans. So if you're a fan of great music, you can also go to blastmusic247.com and register as an unlimited fan and have access to hundreds and hundreds of independent music. Blast, we're constantly changing the industry one artist at a time. All right, ladies, back to you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being on According to Courtney. If you're just joining us now, we're here with this amazing therapist, Miss Alice Powell. She's been going over, therapy in general for us, the pros, the cons, the goods, the bads, and really how to look for your therapist. And when you're in crisis, she dropped some bombs on us of ways you can get your help immediately if need be. Going through your jobs and things like that. And I want to actually start so now we're back in the space. I want to talk about like the pros and cons of medical practices that you're seeing like in the Western practices compared to like other places. I know America is an interesting beast when it comes to our medical care period now has changed dramatically than what it was even 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 4 years ago. We had what we had, and what we have now is looking really stark. And both of us right here are in the state of Florida. And baby, this state is in a state. To say the very least. We're trying to keep it cute, but our state is in a state, and especially when I've seen it in medical health, but in mental health as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so some of the things about doing mental health the way that we do it, right? It does have pros and it does have cons. I'm gonna do the cons first, and then I'm gonna do the pros.
Okay.
So some of the cons is a lot, if not, and when I say a lot, I mean a disparaging number of a lot. Most of mental health's foundation and founding fathers of mental health was based out of racism. Mm-hmm. We were experiments. Things were just inaccurate for us because we were not human beings. We were property. Right. We were lab rats. We were animals. And so they would disregard basic humanities for us. Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way back for the Association of Psychology. They went all the way back to apologize publicly to Black people for 176 years of racist interventions.
Wow.
Okay. That means the people that our mental health is based off of, that gives us our foundation and fundamentals, was based in racism, and it was seen that way and treated that way for us. So if you have 176 years of bullshit,
yep,
and then you keep building upon it, and then someone such as myself goes to school, I can only learn from white bases. Mm-hmm. There are no founding people that are 80, 90 years of practice where we're using them as our foundation. We don't have it. Everyone is white, whether it be a white male, a white woman. So when you think of things like Sigmund Freud, Erickson, these are all white men.
Yes.
Who has taught us what to do. Is their work null and void? No. But is it who we are as people? Absolutely not. And so we have to take the bits and pieces. And I tell people this, take what you want, leave what you don't. Because some things are just bullshit.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have it. But it's okay to know, hey, this is where they're getting their information from. I'm going to take that. This may affect me in this way. I'll take that. But this does not apply to me at all. So I'm going to disregard that altogether.
That's super smart.
All right. So those are the cons. If you know someone is coming from a base of you do not have my best interest at heart, those are the cons, right? The pros, and another con. If you think you do not have a racist clinician, you are sadly mistaken. If you think you don't have a biased clinician, people think that you have to be I don't see color, I love everyone in order to be a therapist. You have racist teachers. You have racist police, racist doctors, people who will not touch you with a 10-foot pole for religious reasons.
Yes.
So even in like the Jewish community, be sick and dying in the street, they're not going to touch you if you're bleeding. And that's okay because of their religious preference. Be a practitioner and think that a Jewish person is bleeding in the streets and you're not supposed to help them. That's not going to go well for you. They're going to say that you neglected what you were supposed to do. They're not going to see that for them, right? Because of their religion. And so all of that is a big deal. Those are the cons. So be mindful of, there was a big difference and a shift in the mental health field during COVID, where a lot of, racism was at an all-time high, but it was the blatant racism that was at an all-time high, right?
Correct.
And so clinicians were letting it be known where they stood, what side they stood on, and what their perspective was. And so if you're a Black woman and your therapist has a Trump 2020 sign on the back of her, a flag that has red and blue and I back the police behind them, and you're a Black person watching injustices take place, that's traumatic for you.
Yes.
And so it's like, I can't get services because this person doesn't have my best interest at heart. And it makes you look at them differently because you didn't see it coming.
Yes.
Okay? So you can ask those things and be aware. Those are the cons. Covert, invert racism or biases that guide people, because therapists are humans too.
Yes.
They have political preferences too. They have religious preferences as well. But that's why you want to ask those questions so you align with them better.
I think that's really important. I feel like people's like, oh, well, you're not supposed to talk about government or religion when you're doing business. That's not true. When it comes to therapy, it's such an intimate thing. I need to know what you're thinking, especially doing that as a Black woman with Black children, and I'm having issues with white counterparts doing blatantly racist things. I don't need to hear Trump thumpers telling me it's all in your head. We all matter. That always to me is a red flag. When you say, I don't see color. And I have told people in the medical field is that, well, then we have a problem because that means you cannot see me.
Yes.
I am a Black woman who living a Black existence. This is a Hispanic man living a Hispanic existence who is an immigrant. If you don't see our color, then there's a problem. Yeah. If you tell me I see all the colors and understand, I can't understand everyone's background, but I can support you the best way I can. I'm more willing to take someone. If I can't find someone who looks like me, I'm more willing to take you than the one's like, I don't see color. Right. Then you're blind. And blindness isn't going to help me in this situation. I want us to go into something that we talked about a little bit, is when it comes to Black maternal health, because what you're saying goes very much in line when it comes to the history of gynecology. The history of gynecology that was based and started on Black enslaved bodies. Yeah. And a lot of people till this day do not know that. Yeah. That gynecology was done, the C-section was done on a wake, non-medicated, enslaved Black bodies.
Yeah.
And the thought process of what is taught of why we have so many issues when it comes to maternal health, that Black women are dying 3 to 4 times their rate, is based in racist rhetoric that is taught in the medical field. So therefore, a lot of times I can say I have to send my clients after giving birth to clinicians like yourself due to the trauma that has happened in the medical field. I personally know you work in Black maternal health, but what are certain things you see when you're dealing with clients dealing in the Black maternal health spaces?
So I see lots of stuff, lots of things, but some of the major things is anxiety. A lot of anxiety, and it becomes chucked up to all kinds of things that may be exacerbated or kind of hyperbole depending on who you express it to.
Correct.
And with that, I mean they're exaggerating, not the client but the professional. If you're saying, I just don't know what to do, I don't have information, I don't have guidance, or I'm scared, or I think that this is going to happen to my baby, I think this is going to happen to me. That's a sense of anxiety, right? Whereas if you tell that to the wrong clinician or you tell it to the wrong practitioner, they're going to check it up to paranoia.
Yes.
See how extreme and exacerbated it becomes. Instead of it being, this mom is anxious. She's nervous because of X, Y, and Z. And these are her stats. These are her experiences. And I need to understand that and guide in that space. So I deal with so much anxiety because of the unknown. So I spend a lot of time reassuring moms. One, you know how to keep you alive.
Yes.
It is very likely you will be able to keep this child alive.
Yes.
Okay? Some things will come naturally and some things you need to be taught. Do not expect everything to come to you like water, right? And so if you give yourself some grace and ask some questions, you will learn so much. So I tell people, my moms who are expecting and my postpartum moms, ask 3 people the same question who know you in a different capacity, right? So if I am a new mom, for example, and I am bottle feeding and I want to breastfeed, I want to ask a young person, what do you think about bottle feeding, breastfeeding? When I say young person, that means 25 and under, right? And they're going to say, oh, girl, I'm not messing up my titties. I'm going to feed the baby the Similac, right? That's one perspective. I'm not just going to take that and run. Then I'm going to try to get someone on my level or in my age group, someone above 65. They say, what you think about breastfeeding and bottle feeding? And they may say, I do both. So I breastfeed if I don't have a bottle or if I done ran out of Similac or what have you. And I bottle feed if I'm on the go.
Correct.
Right? And then you may ask an older person who is a senior and ask them about breastfeeding, bottle feeding. And I'm pretty sure they will either encourage you to do one or the other exclusively.
Yes.
So they may say, all I know is breastfeeding. We didn't have Similac. We didn't have alternatives like that. It was either something organic and all natural, or you were getting breast from another woman.
Yes.
And so that just is what it is. And when you take all of that information, you may say, this fits well for me. I'm going to breastfeed until I can't anymore. Pumping is now an option for me. And I didn't know that I could pump and store.
Yes.
I had to pump and use or pump and dump, and so all of that requires education. So it's just grace in that space, and where you can ask those uncomfortable questions about discharge, nipple discharge.
Yes.
Discharge, right? Leftovers from either you pushing or you having a C-section. What am I supposed to do? My body isn't feeling the same. What's my turnaround time? I'm ready to, be outside and have a hot girl summer again. Well, baby, that's not going to happen in 3 days.
Absolutely. Being more realistic with care, I think is really helpful. And also a lot of people, what I've seen is like they're fear mongered so badly from the medical professionals. Yes. And then when they're expressing the same fear that's been put into them back to the clinician or to the doctor, now you're labeled as you're the problem.
Yes.
not even putting, but like, but you just told me just for being a Black woman, I must have high blood pressure. I'm going to have an issue. I'm going to do this. When your blood pressures are fine, you've always been healthy. There's nothing wrong with you. But because you are just alone, just being Black, you've been labeled with X, Y, and Z. And that's why I feel like a lot of times it's important to have a therapist during your pregnancy, especially for Black women. I very much encourage, no, you need to get someone else. Even if especially if you're working with me as a doula, I'm here to cover the evidence-based information that comes to pregnancy. Okay. But with the mental health aspect of it, I go to a certain limit, but you need to hear from a clinician that looks like you, sees you, sounds like you, to explain, like, they blowing smoke up your ass, right? You know, this is bullshit, right? I need you to lean into who you are and know that we have your back. Yeah. You're not out here by yourself.
Yeah. And a good chunk of that, of what we do when we're dealing with prenatal and postpartum and dealing in that space of maternal mental health, is advocacy. We try to get them to understand that you don't have to take it. Yes. A lot of mothers feel like I have to take it in order for me to have this baby. You do not. And when you look back at it, you will get it then. It's just you're in that moment right now. And for someone to see what you're going through because they're not inside of the moment with you is a blessing in itself, right? It's eye-opening because when you're pregnant, it's a fog. Yes. It is I'm just trying to get through this. I'm just trying to get through this versus it being, hold on, you aren't taking care of me. Right. Hey, you are missing these key components. I asked about this and now you're not providing this to me.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. All the snaps, because that's so true. It's such a true statement that happens over and over and over and over again. I know when it comes to women in general, but a lot of, especially Black women, Black people, when it comes to dealing with physicians, you get white coat syndrome. And it's that fear of, and it's based out of, history of racism, dealing with the medical field, is like you feel fearful that you cannot have a voice because if I have a voice, they're going to harm me. And some medical professionals will tell you, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to take your baby. And be told that on a regular, or I'll have you Baker acted. I will have something horrific happens to you. That is, like you've explained multiple times, that is like they go from 0 to 1,000 for simple questions, for simple concerns, or doctors having God complex. I've seen that a lot. I know it all. I be it all. Who are you to question me? If you question me, I'm going to do this. And then as a parent, our first job is I need to protect my baby and myself. So I guess I'm gonna let you run these tests on me that I don't need. Make me have a C-section that I don't need. And, and now you have all this trauma. Yeah. And then it's our jobs a lot of times, and that's why I like having a therapist. You get to hear, which is tough. No, you were right. Yeah. That wasn't okay. That wasn't real. It was real in that moment because they made it that way, but it's not real.
Right. I agree. I definitely agree in that space. And then also just learning the statistics. So I want to say this for doulas, OBs, Black OBs, Black doulas, just Black providers in the maternal health window. There is a better understanding that Black women are not being cared for. Yeah. And that could only be brought to the forefront from people like you, Courtney, who are doing the work, who's doing the advocacy, who's putting the statistics out there and comparing what we are receiving versus what they are receiving that are not Black or non-Hispanic. And those numbers are so drastic and dire that once they do the research, it's like, these numbers can't be right. Let's do it again. These numbers can't be right. Let's do it again. They don't want to believe. But when providers such as yourself are taking that information and putting it out there to the world, it's a lot easier for even me as a pregnant woman. It's easier for me to go up to a provider and say, listen, I'm not trying to die. And I died 3 times more likely than my counterparts. So what can you do to ensure that I don't die?
Yes. And being that honest, being
Yes.
that blatant, because people don't worry about being, especially, you know, we in the South, you think about you being to be sweet about it. No, be
No.
honest. No, I know, and then know the records. Like if you know that this particular hospital has one of the highest C-section rates, you need to be having these conversations. I know your C-section rate is 75%.
Right.
And I see in Black women, it's actually 80%.
Right.
Why is that? And
Yeah.
to really look at the numbers. Speaking of numbers, you actually brought in some great statistics and some great numbers that I would like us to go over, because like you said, once you see it, makes all the difference, because seeing it makes it real. Boom.
Yeah.
Mental health.
Yeah. So in this, it just lets you know who's receiving mental health services, and when they're distressed, and people who are 18 and over. And if you look where it says non-Hispanic Black versus non-Hispanic White, you will see who is seeking out services.
Wow.
You will see who is getting services in the poverty line, who is sad, and how they are helping those people, right? And you will see that a lot of Black people don't seek services right away versus people who are non-Hispanic and they're white, right? So usually it's about 60% of white people seek services when they're in distress versus only about 13% of Black people are seeking services when they are distressed. So if only 13% of us are seeking it, what are we doing with the rest of it? Where is it going? You know,
because it does show up. It doesn't go away. People think that they just bottle it up. It shows up in how we parent. It shows up how what we do at work. It shows up in our relationships. It doesn't. That's the main thing I want to stress to people. It doesn't go away. It will just manifest in other ways, and we're doing it. Think about our family members who are alcoholics and drug addicts, things like that. All they're most of the time doing is just trying to make the pain go away. This is how they're able to supplement. This is what they're doing.
Yeah.
To get
I have some maternity stats as well.
Do you? Okay.
That we have.
Give us 1 second. We change those up. And then those stats that you just gave us, where do those come from?
Those come from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Minority Health.
Oh, thank you.
So these are organizations, and I encourage people to go and look up the information that is being provided to you. Do some research, know what you know, but also look at it as the grand scheme of things, which is Black people don't even make up 20% of the population.
Correct.
That's in general. So when you see those numbers and they're saying, 13% of Black people seek mental health services, we're less than 20% of the population. So to get 13% out of that less than 20%, you're kind of sitting in that 1% window.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that should let you know that those numbers are very, very, very small. So here's some of the infant mortality information that I did want to share with you guys. Okay. That is very important. Yes, there we go. Okay. If you will look, you will see at the top where it says 10.4.
Yes.
That is how often our babies are dying. Versus if you look right next to it, you will see 4.4. That's the rate that white people's babies are dying. Our numbers are drastically higher for us to be so small in population. Okay. You can also see some of the characteristics of prenatal care, right? Within their first trimester. We're not getting as much as we should. Granted, it is 68% right? But they're in 82%. That means they're getting their ass to the doctor.
So
they're being proactive in that space, and we are not as much as we could be.
Absolutely. So I want to tackle that piece now where we're in it, because it's so statistics are very interesting to me, because it's like, well, Black people just don't go to the doctor like they should. A lot of times places for Black people are going, especially if depending on what insurance you have or where you're put in, you may have a provider. Say you're going to the pregnancy center that's connected to your local hospital, which only one hospital that takes Medicaid. Okay.
All
That
right.
provider will say, okay, I'm supposed to see you every week. They'll put you out 2 months out.
Yeah.
Why? Because they are swamped and don't have enough time and they're not seeing you.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we see this over and over again, or the moms are making their appointments and they're canceled.
Yeah.
Over and over again. But it's interesting enough that it's usually Black and brown moms who appointments tend to happen to be canceled over and over and over again. So it's not necessarily don't want to go to the doctor is not available. Also, people are not aware that you can change providers. And but the key thing is, if you're past, what is the magical number, like 26 weeks?
28 weeks. That's
28 weeks. It's that sweet little spot. You can't change providers because usually no one will pick you up and take you. Guess what? Black people don't know that. Most people don't know that, but especially Black women don't know that because they'll finally get fed up. It's like, I'll just go somewhere else. And they have no one to take them. Then they have to stay with the provider. But now there's this.
The rapport is bad.
The rapport was already bad, and now
it's gone.
It's gone.
The relationship is gone. Yeah.
Now they will not talk to you. They're going to see you last. They're not going to answer any questions for you. Yeah. And now
you're uncomfortable.
You're uncomfortable. So now you have anxiety. So now your blood pressure is high. Now to say you have high blood pressure, now you're on blood pressure medication that you necessarily didn't need to be on because your anxiety is high because now you think that your provider is going to mistreat you.
Yeah.
And then they do. And so it's just a constant swirl of crazy that starts, and it's so difficult to get out of once you're in it.
Yes. Yeah. So some of the things that it's Black mothers, right, from getting what they need is I come to you, I express to you, hey, this is what my needs are. And this is what I want. And they will reassure you to ensure that they get that first little chunk of money or big chunk of money. I need they need the finances that you come with. Even if you come with Medicaid still pays.
Yes.
Okay. Even if you're cash pay, whatever you're doing, it has to get paid for.
Yes.
Right. And so you're verbalizing what your needs are. And sometimes you don't even know what they are. And so when you say these are my issues and they say, okay, well, it's not that. Let's look at a least restrictive one instead of it being something that they need to look into a little bit more. So if this is your first child, you don't know what you're asking for.
Absolutely.
If you've already rode this ride, you know a little bit more. You can tell when they are disregarding you and they're not handling things for you. So a good example is if you aren't getting your screenings on time. If you're going to the doctor and the doctor's not having you to pee in a cup, then that's a number one red flag right there. You should be going to the bathroom, peeing in a cup every time you see your provider, especially if you're pregnant. If you aren't getting things like glucose testing, blood pressure testing in a timely fashion, those things can also deteriorate your pregnancy. And now you're sitting at a mortality rate that's so much higher. So what I encourage moms is the advocacy that goes with that. Go and look up, hey, what should be happening in these months of pregnancy? Because you're going to have podcasts like this that are available to say, hey, you need to go get a pregnancy test if you're seeing this. You need to go straight to an emergency room if you are seeing bloody discharge. Absolutely. Or if you are bleeding any type of way. You know, you need to know that I need to get my glucose tested or get my blood pressure tested at these points in these weeks. And even if my provider doesn't give me that information, I'm going to give it to them like, hey, I need these things. Those are ways to advocate for yourself. And I tell people to make a team, make a village. If your OBGYN isn't listening, you might have a doula with you, or you might have a therapist with you who can also say, hey, this needs to get done. And they'll have your back. And as a team, it'll work out a lot better than you going at it all alone.
Absolutely.
So just start somewhere and get at least one person on your team you trust. They will help build up that village for you.
Absolutely. Accountability is everything. And when you're having multiple people holding you accountable who have the evidence-based information, it's hard to
Yes.
fight it.
It
So
is hard to mistreat someone.
it is, because I've seen it over and over again. Oh, that's not true. Well, evidence-based states this and this and this and this, that this is true and this is what it is. And then also we've been keeping a record. I tell people all the time, keep a record of your blood pressures, keep a record of everything. So when
Yes.
you're coming in with evidence of your body. Listen, my blood pressures are great all the time until I come to this office and I skyrocket it. You
There
make
you
me
go.
nervous. You make
Yep.
me uncomfortable. Can I see a different provider in this office? Or maybe it's the time of day. If you're going
Right.
in the morning, you just ran around and got the kids together and everything else, and the first thing you're doing through the door and you haven't eaten breakfast yet, and now you're going to go see your provider, we're irritated. We're
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah.
We have a little shot of either mushroom / half coffee mixed together so we can take it through and make it through the life. Don't ask me no questions this early. Maybe I should see you around 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I've had lunch.
Yes.
I've rested.
Yes. I took a nap.
I've had a couple of hours without no kids. I am more ready to be received.
Yes.
So it's about just knowing you and just having those things with you. So we have done our According to Courtney. I am super excited that you were here. And
Absolutely.
Alice, you came with the knowledge. You came with all the good things. And you're always welcome here. And we just love having you. And you came with the statistics, honey. I love it. You were like, not only going to tell it to you, here's the numbers of where it's from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see on the bottom, we keep writing in that are guiding hands of therapeutic services. Everyone, if you need services, reach out and know that there's different clinicians out here. We're so glad you're out here doing this work on these streets because you are so needed.
Yeah. Also, don't just reach out. If you got questions, just call me and ask me. I'll answer your questions as best as I can. Even if I can't take you on as a client of my own, I always provide resources to people. And then I tell them, hey, if that doesn't work, call me back. We'll find out something. You're not out here by yourself. Okay. You don't have to be. And just know that. That's the biggest thing. You can always reach me on my website, and you can send me a little message, a little blurb on there and say, hey, Alice, I just have a question about this. Or, hey, Alice, are you available at these times? Or can I chat with you about that? If not, you can call this number, which is 407-495-0445. We can service the whole state of Florida, the whole state of Indiana, and the whole state of Maryland. Because we are licensed lots of places, and hopefully we'll have even more to add to our list of providers that can service you as well.
Oh, we love it. Thank you so much, Alice. And to my viewers, know that you are loved, you are seen, and you are heard, and you matter. More than anything, you matter. So remember that. And until next time, thank you guys.